In part one, we got this exhaust all mocked up, ready to go. We're going to be ripping it out and welding it all up. So join us as we get that done. Here we are with the exhaust so far. So it is tacked up and pretty much ready to go. I did put expansion joints in lots of spots because the muffler is mounted off the engine. So we made that mount there, the mount up there, and then it is directly mounted here. So it's going to have to expand and contract. So that's why that expansion joint is in there. Then between the two sides, that's going to grow. So we got that expansion joint there, and we have this side. So this is just all tacked together. I'm going to pull it off, put it on the bench, weld it out. I don't know what you think, but I think this is pretty cool. This is the entire exhaust system off that little Corvair. It's just tacked up. I'm going to weld it out. So this is all 308, well, 300 series stainless, and it's 304 probably. We'll weld it with 308. This part here, this is a 400 series, so we're going to be welding this with 309. And yeah, I just think this is pretty cool. Before we get to welding it though, we need to deal with the heat guards. So I'm going to be manufacturing some guards for this out of aluminum so that we can make sure this thing isn't going to be an overheater, heating up the bottom of the car, the engine shroud area, everything. We want to keep it as cool as possible. So that is the next step, making some heat protection for this little car. The entire portion of this exhaust is made with 304 stainless. These parts I CNC'd out, the tubing, everything else I bought the bends. And you're going to see I'm not back purging this. And the reason I'm not back purging it is, as well as on a lot of the other videos that I do, is with exhaust especially, I use Solar Flux. And so the only rod I'm going to need is my 308 stainless. This is 304. And yeah, I'm just going to get at it. What I'm doing is anywhere where there's a few tacks too little, at least in my opinion, I'm just throwing some more tacks on there. I don't see anything else that I need to tack up, so I'm going to actually be welding a lot of this autogenously. So what autogenous welding is welding without the use of filler metal. Some of the spots on here I have a tiny little bit of gap, which I might have to use filler, like this one little tiny spot here. Stainless steel welds itself really well to autogenous welding. When you do autogenous welding, you want to make sure that you are getting full penetration. So on this, I'm actually manually pumping the pedal, and I can watch it penetrate. I do have a pulse setting, which I'm probably going to switch to here because I don't know why I'm not using it. Using this pulse setting makes your welds look extremely consistent. So you'll notice I'm rolling as I'm doing this. you might have an issue with that. Normally when you roll stuff, you have it in a spinner. You have to be very careful when you're doing this. You don't end up with stray arcs. So you want to be pushing down on that bench so that you got a good ground. Works really well. Pretty much done everything I can do autogenously. The rest of these welds are fillet welds, and you'll notice on other videos and so on, I love a jack stand for doing this. So the one thing about stainless steel is heat is your enemy with stainless steel. It's got such a low thermal conductivity that an area can overheat pretty easily. So what I had here is I have a transition from a, well, just like this. So from the flex joint into the T intersection. So it's a fairly large amount of weld needed in there. So I don't need to deal with any more of that heat right now. So those are a couple spots that I would want to deal with the big gaps first, and then I'll come back to this area later when it's a little bit cooler. Anytime you're doing a fillet weld, you might run into that situation. So all I'm gonna do is hit the other side where the big gap is, and we will come back to that later then. That transition's done. So if you notice, I have switched out of the pulse settings because on fillet welds, or actually anywhere, unless the conditions are perfect, I would rather control all my heat inputs consistently with the pedal because I can read it. I have a tiny bit when I come to the edge of the saddle here that I made for these. It's a little thinner and that melts away, and I want to be able to control that and react to it without having to worry about the pulse settings. So I personally feel better about manually dealing with this. So it's very important that you set up and that you're comfortable in the position that you're welding. If you fight a weld, you're going to see it. This first piece turned out pretty good. I mean, there's always room for improvement, but I think it's going to work quite nicely on this car. So with these other parts, these are all 400 series parts. So we need to use a 309 TIG rod for them. Everything that gets welded to the muffler, because that's the 400 series part, is going to be done with this 309. The rest of this stuff, wideband, bung, and everything else, that's going to be the normal 308. I'm just going to make sure that I have everything tacked up here before I get crazy. I'm dealing with a bit of a gap here, and I want to run back and forth on this so that I don't have this bracket pull everywhere. So I don't know, struggle's real. Hey, thank you for joining me as I built the exhaust for this little Corvair. It's such a neat little project, and this exhaust is so finicky and tiny, and I had to use weird bends and so on in there. It worked out perfect though. It's tight, and yeah, it's a very interesting little exhaust job. So I personally can't wait to hear this thing fire up and run. Unfortunately, that isn't going to happen for a little while because this one mod we're doing, well, there's a bunch of other mods that we need to do. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to take and make this car run. So that means I need to finish up the fuel system at the back. I also need to take and I have to pull the engine out and weld injector bungs into the heads of this because this car doesn't have an intake manifold. The carbs bolt right to the head, so we got to get rid of that setup. And then I have to build an intake manifold that'll hold the throttle body. And after that, then I'm going to be building an air intake or air cleaner system, which is going to turn out really cool. I have some really cool air filters that were hard to get. So I hope that you wait and you watch those videos as well, because that's going to be really cool. I think underneath the hood of this car is going to be great. I can't wait until it's done. But for now, I'm just going to finish putting these together. These are going to get put on the shelf. Eventually, I mean, when the car gets put together, we're going to be polishing and brushing this stuff up. It's going to look absolutely fabulous. But let me know in the comments what you think. And please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.